energy and in the connections between human beings and the connections between everything in creation. And in a modern world, in a city like this, where there are so many buildings, so much concrete, steel and aluminium and glass, then the connections between living things are lost and disturbed. But in the days of the Stone Age man and tribal religions, then where human beings are more sensitive to their environment, then I believe those connections are strong and exist still. And so it was this idea that led me on to the concept for the 10th dimension, because I imagined that if you can measure things, that's when people accept that they're real. So at one point, before the Second World War, then microwaves were just a theory. Then people said, well, microwaves, yeah, we theorised that at this length of wave, that's a microwave. But it wasn't till after the Second World War, when all of the giant radar dishes didn't have to find enemy planes, they were pointed at the sky, that they could measure, and they found out microwaves did exist. So that led me on to think, well, if psychic energy does exist, then it's only because it can't be measured or it can't be seen. And if other dimensions exist, just because our senses, which are so small, can't see them, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. So eventually, if technology moves forward, you can measure, quantify, and actually use these dimensions, the same as you can with microwaves. And so that's the idea behind the album, that somebody finds psychic powers, somebody finds and defines psychic energy, somebody finds the energy and the existence of the human soul and consciousness, and they find that, and then they make a machine, and the government take that machine and say, right, now we have control of everybody's psychic energy in this world, and everybody's soul will not pass into creation, will not pass into the other side. Everybody's soul will be trapped in limbo while we have control of this machine. So you don't have an afterlife unless we say so. So you do what we want in this life, because we've proved there is an afterlife. And so it was about the government taking control of that, just the way they did of nuclear weapons, and about the scientist trying to rebel against that, trying to protect that idea, trying to save the soul of humanity, and then trying to give humanity clues how to find that path and that way to the other side and not be afraid of death. And so that was the whole concept of the album. And I worked out, I got in touch with some guys from Cambridge University, some physicists, and I asked them to do me something for time travel. I said, if time travel is possible, write me the formula. And so they went down the pub one night, had a few drinks, left out a couple of details, and they came back and they said, Blaze, here is the formula for time travel, and it's on the album. So if anybody knows anything about advanced physics, then they could look at that and go, oh, that might mean time travel is possible. Well, that's, just a theory that a couple of guys worked out, but they were proper physicists that did it for me. So I took the whole album that far, and it was very detailed, and it certainly doing a concept album is a huge thing. But I'm very proud of that album.
Yeah, it's a great album. Besides the whole story, the music on 10th Dimension is more melodic and a little progressive. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, we tried a lot of different things, and I think when you're writing with a concept and a strong idea, you're out of, each song has to make sense with itself in a certain amount of time, then you're not worried about trying things. So we linked the first song musically with the last song, and we linked other bits and pieces together. So musically, the album works, and lyrically it works. And I think with everything I've done with my own material, then we've always tried to stay true to the idea. So once the idea emerges and takes on its own spirit and meaning, we've tried to stay true to that. And I think that's what happened with the 10th Dimension, is songs like the 10th Dimension and other songs on that album, we follow the life and the meaning of the song, and we don't try and say, oh, well, let's cut it down to make it commercial, or maybe it'll be boring for the fans. We try and say, no, this is what the song means, this is the story that we have to tell, and we have to tell it from start to finish.
Then you recorded a live album, and the next record, Blood and Belief.
We did the live album because we're playing a really long set at the time, featuring some Iron Maiden songs and Wolfsbane songs and stuff from my solo Blaze stuff. And we really felt like a lot of people didn't know that we were a live band. You know, so we wanted to kind of make sure that people know, so we did as live as it gets, and it turned out great. We just made it in one evening in my hometown in Dudley, a Blaze gig, and it turned out great. And then after that, I suppose we went through some really dark times, and Blood and Belief came out of a time when we had problems with the record company, there was problems within the band. I had my own personal problems as well, and I suppose I wasn't facing up to my problems, and I was drinking too much and getting into all kinds of trouble. And I think, you know, Blood and Belief, a lot of it is my own personal experience lyrically, and really talking to myself and being totally honest about my situation and facing up to it and try and get back on my feet after some big disappointments.
There is also a song, Soundtrack of My Life, on Blood and Belief. It's a little autobiographical.
Yeah, Soundtrack of My Life is certainly an autobiographical song. So in that way, a lot of the songs on Blood and Belief are. And the start of Soundtrack of My Life, it doesn't sound like a heavy Blaze song, or it doesn't sound really dirty or aggressive, but the whole song makes sense, you know, with the lyrics that I had and everything like this. It just tells the truth about me. And I've lived my whole adult life, I've lived for heavy music, and no matter what's happened to me, it seems that I haven't had a life outside of music. My whole life has been, I've been in a band, I've been a singer in a band. That's been my life, that's been my reality. And it's a dream that's come true, and I'm very lucky to have that. But also, it's quite a weird existence as well. I talked to some of my friends from years ago when I started my first band, and they go, oh, you're still doing it, I'm married now, and I've got a family and a house and a car and a steady job, and we go on holiday each year. What are you doing? I'm like, well, hoping I'm going to make a record, and then I don't know. Maybe we'll go on tour and I'll live on a tour bus for a year, or maybe I'll just hope that I'll live on a tour bus. I don't know. So it's a different kind of existence. So I took stock of my life when we were doing the Blood and Belief album, and I went back through all the lyrics that I'd written and all the bits of paper that I'd had odd things on from years and years ago, right back to my Wolfsbane days, where I had like a line or a lyric that I never used. And I got everything out on the floor and started getting everything together. And from all of that, I started to get Soundtrack of My Life and Blood and Belief and Hollowhead and all of those songs. So there's a lot of personal anguish and honesty on that album. And it's one I'm very, very proud of. And Alive, I think we opened the set with Alive on the Blood and Belief tour, a lot of it. And for me, it's one of my favourite opening songs that we ever had.
Blaze, thank you very much for a great interview, and I wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very much, and looking forward to a great concert.
Thank you.